Alright, just double checking once again that we are live. It looks like we should be.
I'll pull it up.
I'm going to double check Twitch as well. Multi-streaming is fun, making sure that you're always streaming.
And knowing who's talking.
Huh.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet?
Nothing's popping up yet for me on the live stream.
Well, it says YouTube is running.
I'm looking for it, but nothing new's coming up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like... Yeah, YouTube's up. YouTube's running. For some reason, it's not showing up for you, but it looks like we're live.
Well, it is what it is then.
Yep. Well, I guess the sound works. I totally forgot my phone had sound on. Well, yeah, Bagels, well, anyway. Let's go ahead and get this started. I will give a brief intro before we get into it. So, welcome back to The Social Otaku. My name is Josh. This is my more serious podcast. Normally, I do have a co-host, Elliot. For the time being, basically until further notice, my co-host, Elliot, will no longer be able to do this podcast due to scheduling conflicts. So today it will be me and my guest, who is a co-host with me on another podcast that I run, with her and one other co-host, which is Bobabun. Say hi, Bobabun.
Hi, everyone.
Alright, so today we will be talking about mental health and how it can affect your everyday life. I know, Boba, you've really wanted to talk about this, and I've really been wanting to breach the subject because, for the most part, this podcast has been a platform for learning how to communicate better, or learning how to gain better self-confidence, self-esteem, but we haven't really talked about emotional things. We haven't really talked about the mental health aspect of a lot of reasons why people struggle socially.
Mm-hmm.
So, was there something you wanted to say first, or did you want to just see where the conversation took us?
Let's just see where the conversation takes us before I get into that, because
Okay.
I don't want to breach into such a serious thing so quickly, you know?
I gotcha. Yeah, definitely. Well, for those of you who haven't seen this podcast or any of my panels before, I should probably mention I do have social anxiety. And when I say social anxiety, I'm not talking about like, oh, hey, I don't like talking to other people sometimes. It's not just being an introvert. That's not what social anxiety is. Social anxiety is a form of clinical anxiety where the specific triggers for your anxiety are social. It could be too much social interaction over too short a period of time. It could be that I say something to someone close to me and all of a sudden the trigger is maybe I didn't say the right thing, or maybe my brain has decided that it doesn't think I said the right thing, or I worry that if I talk to someone too much, there will be a problem, or on the reverse side of that, I'll feel like if I don't talk to them, then there will be a problem, and usually it'll be somewhere in between, and I'll end up freaking myself out. And a lot of the time when you have clinical anxiety, stuff like that, that's going to be, you know, something that's hormonal, something that is chemically wrong with your system, as opposed to just, maybe you should get some better self-esteem, maybe you should think about things better. Sometimes that's not always enough, you know?
Right. Sometimes you need to take the time to stop and maybe talk with your doctor about it. Talk about seeing a therapist, or, you know, if that's not helping, then going to see if you can possibly talk about medication as a solution, because sometimes we need a little extra help with balancing our chemicals out.
Yeah,
You know?
and I'll be the first to admit, still to this day, I have very much avoided taking medications. And I haven't seen a therapist in a while. So I know that I have some things to work out with that. But as far as my specific scenario, I think I can probably address that better in a different video. I just wanted to broach the subject of I experienced that, and I think a lot of people who identify as nerds or otaku have to deal with that to some degree.
Right, that or depression. And it seems like a lot of people have that stigma of, if you have depression or if you have anxiety, that you're not mentally well. And I feel like that stigma keeps people from getting help. I mean, help that they really, really need. Because ultimately, it can affect you in other ways. Like, you can become more paranoid, you can just start feeling like life is closing in on you and you don't want to seek help from others anymore. And eventually, it can lead you to physically shutting down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I've experienced that myself rather recently, actually. I just kind of, I started working on things. I work from home, which is fortunate, so if I need to take a break, I make my own schedule, I work from home, it's nice, but yeah, I think recently, I can't remember what the day was, because it just kind of blurred over, but something triggered my anxiety, and I just kind of stared blankly at a screen. Not even like watching a show or anything like that. I just kind of stared blankly at my computer screen for half the day. And I didn't talk to anyone about it either. And I know that's a problem. I know it is.
That's another thing I'd like to get into. Guys, there is and I'm wanting to breach this conversation in a way that doesn't come off as super abrasive or super depressing, but it seriously needs to be something that's talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go into the dreaded S word. So I want to make this very clear to those who are going through suicidal tendencies, or, they have those thoughts going through their mind. When you guys do that, you end up hurting many other people around you, not just yourself, or not just the people that you are trying to hurt. There are people who really care about you, who you may not even notice, or who you've purposely tried to kick out of your lives, that you hurt by doing something like that. Because they really want you to reach out and talk with them. And you, as a person, should reach out when somebody is trying to talk with you and take care of you and, just support you. Because their goal is to look out for you, not hurt you. Also, in life, there are things that get in our way that, keep us from being successful and everything. And there are ways to get around those roadblocks. They might seem impossible, but there are. And if you can't find a way around it, sometimes you just have to find another path instead of trying to go through that roadblock. But in the end, the biggest block in your path is the one that you make for yourself by standing there and just saying, there's no way I can get around this. There's no way I can get through this. You yourself are making that roadblock. And the only way you can do it, or get around it, is by helping yourself to see that there are other ways around it. Sometimes you might need your friend's support to help you through it. By that I mean, if you really feel that way, go talk with a friend. They're not going to make fun of you. They're not going to scold you or say there's something very wrong with you. No, more than 90% of the time, your real friends will support you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And one of the toughest things is that, especially if, even if it's not like your main triggers being social, but especially if you have triggers for your anxiety or your depression, or your bipolar or your PTSD that are social in some nature or are related to your family or your friends in some way, usually that'll kind of stop you from being comfortable with saying, hey, I need help. And sometimes literally just saying, I need help is all that you need to do.
Right, especially if you feel like there are some people that feel I'm not strong if I cannot handle this on my own. Guys, even the strongest rock can be eaten away if a single drop of water keeps dropping on it over and over again. You guys have to understand that it's okay to lean on your friends or your family or whoever you know loves and supports you. It's okay. It's not showing that you're weak. It's not going to make you weak. You never were weak. You just need some help.
One thing that I've noticed, and I think other people have brought up before, is that sometimes, just like you said, you kind of see it as almost weakness. You see it as, well, I can't handle it and I'm just showing weakness to my friends or family and I want to be strong for them. Well, it's been said before, and I absolutely believe this, but being able to be honest with yourself and your friends and your family, that is true strength right there. That is true power. And that goes all the way back to our earlier podcast on gaining self-confidence, which is when you are being confident, when you are truly being confident, there's no need to put on airs. There's no need to put a mask on to hide behind. When you're confident, you're always honest with everyone around you to such a degree that people see you being honest about things that most people aren't honest about, and they're just amazed by how confident and awesome you are. So if you take that mentality into asking for help, by asking for help, you're showing how strong you are by being able to be honest with other people. You're not putting on a mask. You're not putting on something to protect yourself. You're not armoring yourself. You're showing yourself as vulnerable, and that shows power. You'll notice whenever someone's showing off or whenever someone is trying to prove that they are, like, if someone's trying to threaten you, basically, and get you to cower away, they'll open themselves up, they'll raise up their arms, they'll show their chest. They're basically making themselves vulnerable to show their strength. So by you allowing yourself to be vulnerable with your friends and family, you are showing your strength. It is not weakness, it is strength.
Yeah, I'm not going to be one of those people who pushes the suicide hotline because I know it's hard to talk to a stranger about this stuff sometimes. But if you really feel like you need to talk to someone, reach out to someone who you know has been there for you, who you might have been pushing away, because they may not have been pushed away. They may just be standing on the sidelines being worried, wondering if you might have found somebody who you could talk to.
And sometimes there's not really many people that you'll be comfortable talking to anyway. Find at least one friend that you know, and maybe you just have to ask when you're feeling okay, hey, if I'm feeling down or if I'm having an episode, is it okay if I come talk to you? You know, give yourself something. I feel like I had more to add there.
Also, if you still feel like this is the week...
Sorry, I was just saying, I felt like I had more to add there, but I just went blank.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, guys, if you still feel like that's weakness, take a break and think of it more as personal maintenance. Think of it as you taking care of yourself on a mental level, psychological level. Yeah, that's it.
So actually, I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier when we were talking about some of this stuff in chat. But Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, which I am going to reference Dr. Peterson's book in an upcoming video that I still need to record, but recordings have been a little weird lately. But there's a chapter in Dr. Jordan Peterson's book called... God, what is it called? I'm trying to think of the exact phrasing he used. Something to the effect of treat yourself as if you are someone that you are responsible for. And the idea is, if you are responsible for a child, or if you are responsible for, let's say you're, because I know some of the people in our Discord are in high school. If you're tasked with taking the sick kid to the infirmary and seeing the school nurse, if you're set in charge of a classmate who's been hurt, or maybe you're doing a buddy system with a younger grade and you're in charge of younger kids, you have a responsibility. If there's something wrong, you need to tell the teacher. If they're hungry, you need to make sure that, you know, they brought food, or that they're healthy, or etc. There are certain things you need to take care of, especially if it's a family member. Maybe you're responsible for a younger sibling or something like that. But if you treat yourself as that someone who you're responsible for, you just... the way I think of it is thinking of yourself in the third person. Would you be worried about the person who is depressed? Would you be worried about the person who isn't eating? Would you be worried about the person who needs help but isn't asking for it? Well, then you help that person by going to ask for help. You help that person by finding something that will get them out of that rut. Yeah, I didn't explain that as well as I should have. I thought of it, and then the explanation just kind of right out of my brain. So I am trying to find...
Pardon me for a moment.
Yeah. So I'm... No, Glompus, that is not what he said. And we're not getting into that. That's not the topic. We're just talking about his book. I'm trying to find the exact quotes from 12 Rules for Life, though. Let's see. Although I do personally like his rule number 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one in the street. That's a pretty good rule. Okay, I might have been misremembering this because it's saying that rule 2 was treat yourself well.
Alright.
But I could have sworn it was treat yourself as if you were someone you were responsible for. Something to that effect, but I guess maybe I was wrong.
It happens.
Oh, no, I was right. That article was just BSing me. So, Rule 2 in Dr. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life Treat yourself like you would someone you are responsible for helping, is the rule that he put. And yeah, I'm gonna try and come up with a better way of explaining that. Because it makes sense in my head, but I can't. For some reason, it's like not becoming words in my brain.
Yeah, Bagels, I really wouldn't recommend petting a cat on the street either. Go to an animal shelter, like you said, but, yeah. Sometimes you just need the support and comfort of another living thing.
Oh, while you were gone, I think what he was referring to was when I mentioned Rule 12 from 12 Rules for Life. Yeah, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street is the rule.
Oh.
Which it's so the idea behind his rules are to get into an explanation of the mentality behind it, the science behind it, and how this mentality can help you live a more fulfilling life. So I actually haven't finished the book, so I don't know what his explanation is for number 12. But I from what I can tell from a summary here, it's basically his way of saying enjoy life and don't miss out on opportunities to have fun. But yeah, he does have quite a few good rules in here. But just self-help books in general, I'm honestly not a huge fan. I don't know if it's just me, but like motivational speakers or a lot of self-help books just seem really pretentious. They seem really like they're, I don't know how to put it. They just seem really full of themselves.
There are a lot of books that are like that, especially textbooks nowadays.
Oh god, yeah. But
I read the first paragraph of a graphic design textbook, and I was like, yikes.
Oh god, yeah, especially in the arts, god, it gets really, really
it gets really annoying and really pompous quickly.
It really does. But I feel like that's more in art colleges than anything, and more recently than anything else. But like self-help books and motivational speakers have always been really like, just see the dream and you'll make it real in your mind. And I'm just like, that says nothing to me. It says absolutely nothing. Like Tony Robbins just ticks me off every time I hear him.
I mean, to an extent, it's true though.
It's is.
More of,
but the way they
phrase
it, yeah, the way they phrase it is just horrible, and I had to come up with my own ways of figuring these things out, and they don't treat it like this is what helped me, but you'll need to find your own way of doing this, or one of the reasons I enjoyed reading the Tao Te Ching is that it's not a book about how to live your life or what philosophy you should be believing in or using. It's a set of mental exercises of how to find your own way, how to find your own philosophy, how to find your own lifestyle the best that you can.
I feel like that's more of, you can tell people to find their own way and everything, but you can't really, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what their walk of life is, so you can't really say, hey, here's some specific things that you can do to help you, because they may not be for everyone. It's not just a cut and dry cookie cutter answer.
Right, which is why I really wanted to start this series and start making edited videos and start writing about things and starting our Discord community so that we could get as many tools out there as possible and get people talking to each other, because I'm very well versed in communication and social skills and things like that, but I'm really only effective at helping people with mental issues similar to mine, you know?
Right. And I understand that greatly because I myself suffer from anxiety. Like, I used to be terrible about it.
Mm-hmm.
As in, I used to fear people offline entirely. Like, I had this unreasonable fear of getting hit by someone who I didn't even know,
Mm-hmm.
who appeared to be much older than me.
Hmm.
And I still to this day do not understand why. It was particularly bad around guys. Like,
I think I remember you saying that when we first started talking to each other.
yeah, I did not get my driver's license until I was 25 because I had a hard time being behind the wheel with a male stranger,
Mm.
like, who came off as older than me.
Right.
And it just, it made me so nervous. It made me feel so uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
that I was terrified of the whole thing. So I've had weird social anxieties like that. I am actually terrified of loud noises.
Mm-hmm.
God help me if there's a thunderstorm.
Ugh. And see, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't enjoy thunderstorms, but when you have anxiety that you can't, like, just thinking this is not going to hurt me, I'm going to be fine. When it's
It doesn't help all the
yeah,
time.
when it's clinical anxiety, there's a point where that's just not going to work. For example, I'm just looking at Bagel's comment here. Thing is, too, with supporting and counseling is that different situations have different effects on others' mental status. That's absolutely true, Bagels. But there's also the fact that when I tutor for charisma coaching or when I tutor for color grading, even just like video effects, a lot of this goes into psychology. There's so many different circumstances, so many different ways that, whether you intend to or not, you can manipulate other people's emotions, their fears, their anxieties, their passions, their good memories, their bad memories. You can manipulate all of that, whether you mean to or not. Ideally,
That is assuming they're not a sociopath, though.
well, if they're a sociopath, there are just different methods of manipulating them, but it doesn't mean you can't manipulate them.
I guess that's true.
So the thing about a sociopath or a psychopath, they're very similar, but just as a quick aside, just to give them a definition, to my understanding, the main thing that makes them a sociopath or a psychopath is that the part of their brain that processes the feeling of guilt and other related emotions does not properly function, and therefore will be permanently or very consistently, at the very least, turned off. Meaning, if, for example, if they were to get pulled over by a cop, a lot of people, just seeing the lights, whether the lights are for them or not, just seeing the lights, whether even if they don't have anxiety, they get this pit in their chests, thinking, "Oh God, what did I do?" or "What's going to happen?" There's that anxiety that pretty much everyone feels in a situation like that. A sociopath would see those lights and go, "Oh, okay, I should probably pull over." And they don't feel guilt about it. They're just like, "Oh, well, it seems that I'm being pulled over now, so I should pull over."
Right.
And that's the end of their entire thought process. But they do feel other emotions, which means they can be controlled, just not through guilt. But that's the thing, is that you don't know how you're affecting other people unless you take the time to figure out how communication works. So, you can always help people, but I think it's important to reach out when you can. But I don't know. I don't know how to say this, because I definitely want people to feel comfortable talking to others about their issues, but then there's the idea of you can always take things too far. And for some people that's hard to know when they've gone too far.
As far as
Well, as far as pushing too much and causing more anxiety instead of finding a way to help the other person.
oh yeah, that's always a possibility too. That's why I recommend somebody you know very well, who you trust
Yes.
very, very well with these things. I mean, even if you're closing yourself off to them, who knows? Maybe they might be able to handle it a lot better than you think they can.
That's true. And sometimes you just have to try. If you see someone struggling and you think that at the very least maybe they need a friend or maybe I can help, offer, figure out if you can, do your best to help. If it looks like you're not helping, then maybe dial back. Or if it looks like you're being harmful, then maybe dial back. But still try to get them help. Say, ask if they've talked to anyone else about it. See if you can find someone who is more experienced with that. Or, like, if you're a kid, tell an adult.
Even if they're coming off as really angry
Mm-hmm.
or like they're fine, sometimes you might need to just inform other people around them, even
Mm-hmm.
if they're going to hate you for it, because you never know where it's going to lead in their lives. You don't know if they're going to be totally shutting down and locking themselves in their room for 2 to 3 months without eating anything. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Not starving themselves, but not wanting to function at all and not wanting to leave their room. Or if they are going to hurt themselves, or if they're just going to go into a psychosis. You have to be able to keep an eye on your friends, especially if you really care about them. Maybe sometimes you don't even need to talk with them about it, just be there to support them in any way you can. Like, go take them out for some ice cream, a cup of coffee, maybe grab some lunch. Why do all my examples have food in them?
Well, honestly, food is very effective at relieving tension in a lot of cases. That's why a lot of successful business meetings or a lot of sales pitches will include some kind of food. If you look at the pharmaceutical industry, a lot of pharmaceutical salesmen will buy lunch for the people they're trying to sell to, or bring cookies or something like that. Food can get through to people, and it's also a little bit less direct. Like, instead of saying, hey, I noticed you've been down recently, let's talk, that might be a little daunting for them. So I'm really glad that Boba brought this up, because you could make it much less daunting, much less nerve-wracking for the people you're trying to help by saying, hey, a Baskin Robbins just opened up down the street. Do you want to go get some ice cream? It's my treat. And you go down, you get some ice cream, you start talking, and they get the message. Whether you say it or not, they get the message. There's someone who cares enough about me to ask me to go get ice cream. There is someone who's there for me. And from there, maybe you get onto the subject, maybe you don't. But it's something, it's less invasive, and it gets food in their stomach, which always makes people happier.
Right.
Unless
Also,
somehow
maybe
they have
listen.
anxiety caused by food, in which case, don't do that. That's just, it's probably not a good idea.
For those of you who might be dieting or have a friend, who might be wanting to diet, I mean, there's a reason why Bobabun became Bobabun. Maybe you take them out to go see a funny movie, or go do something that they will really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. I wish I could come up with more examples, but again, my entire brain is just blanking on me this evening.
Well, let's say your friend likes to skate, take them to a skate park. If they like to listen to music, maybe treat them to a concert.
Yeah.
Who knows? You never know. Treat them to something they would really like. And also, when you deal with people, treat them kindly, especially if somebody comes off as particularly grumpy, because you don't know what went through their day.
Bagels. So, I actually have anxiety when I'm being offered anything. Like, if someone's offering me a snack, if someone's offering me, for example, recently I started playing Dungeons and Dragons on Wednesdays at a local gaming lounge, and when I started DMing, they said, you know what, you don't have to pay. We're not going to make you pay to be here because you're helping out, you're the DM for one of our groups. And to me, this was still me being given something. And I'm like, no, but like, can I just pay though? I need to. I kept having this itch, like, no, I can't be given anything. It's not okay. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to owe anything to anyone. But the way that I normally get around that is something that I grew up with, and then once I started having anxiety about being offered things, I kind of forgot about it. So in the last couple years, I've picked it up again a little bit. But there's this southern way of politeness. Now, I know you might have been taught this even if you're not from the American South, but in general, it seems to be most common in the American South. But the idea is this. If someone offers you something, it's usually money, but like if someone offers you something, the polite thing is to refuse. So you refuse. If they offer it again, the polite thing is to accept. Because sometimes they'll offer just to be like, I care, but I don't know how much I can do, but I'm going to offer just to show I care. And if you refuse once, then that's the end of it. But if they ask again, then they're saying, no, this is not a burden for me. This is not you taking something from me. This is me wanting to do something, and I would like you to allow me to do it. And so, of course, at that point, they've made it clear this is something they want to do. So you accept. So it's just really easy. First time they offer, no thank you. Second time they offer, you know what? I really appreciate it. And you thank them, and you accept it, and you move on. And while I haven't always been able to do this, for the most part, it's been very, very helpful when it comes to that kind of anxiety.
This might sound kind of strange. I keep getting tongue-tied today. I don't know why.
Hey, you and me both.
But I'm one of those people that when I offer something the first time, I genuinely mean it. I think about it before I offer it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm one of those weirdos that would actually offer the shirt off my back if I did not have boba buns connected to me.
Well, I mean...
well, we're not going to get monetized anytime soon, are we?
No. But I mean, that's the thing, is again, this whole interaction is kind of a southernism, if you will. It's something that I really only see down here because, like, people are... I don't know. It's like that whole mentality from either side of looking at that seems to be a southern thing. So I don't know how common it is for people to actually mean what they say when they offer you something. I just know what it's like here in the South. I've traveled, but I haven't really done... Honestly, I haven't really done enough traveling and enough interaction with people trying to give me things to know the difference at this point.
I promise you, it's not a common occurrence in my state. Everybody's pretty much, keep to myself.
Well, I mean, Texas in particular is known for its friendliness.
And how? I visited one time, and, yeah, everybody seemed really super kind.
Well, you know where the name Texas comes from, right?
No, I do not.
Name Texas comes from a very horrible mispronunciation of an old Native American term that means friendship. I want to say the original word was something like Tejas, but eventually it became Tejas and then Texas. But yeah, and not only that, but still to this day, the motto of Texas, the state motto, is friendship. And anyone who does not embody that, quite honestly, first of all, is not really that common, believe it or not, and is usually not seen as a true Texan. If you're not being polite and friendly, then, well, sucks to be you.
That is a very positive and thought-provoking story. Never thought about that.
Well, and that's also why a lot of people who get this weird idea that Texans are these rude hicks and we're just like,
well, get off my land and get off my place, and don't you do them gay kisses near me.
It's just all, it's all hogwash. We're all very nice, we're all very polite, and we really, as long as you don't say that your favorite sausage is a hot dog, and you don't say that your favorite barbecue is Korean, then I think we're good. When you're here, your favorite barbecue is brisket, whether you like it or not.
My favorite barbecue is pulled pork. Does that count?
No, it just means you're not from here. Like, oh my god. I was watching... No, it's hilarious. So I was watching Archer recently.
I've never had brisket, to be fair.
You also haven't had my brisket in particular. Like, honestly,
This is true.
when people say, I don't like brisket, well, where'd you have it? Well, this restaurant... No, stop right there. There's your problem. You need someone who makes your brisket with care. And that actually brings me into a point I was going to make. So brisket is one of the ways that I meditate. Does that make sense to you? Or should I explain that?
I would like the explanation because that sounds very hilarious.
Okay, so one big misconception people have about meditation, because believe it or not, meditation is very, very helpful. In fact, a lot of studies have shown that people with depression and anxiety can be helped tremendously by two things: good body posture and meditation. So, meditation to a lot of people means sitting down, closing your eyes, and emptying your brain of thoughts, or focusing on your breathing, or going Om. But I will contest that. Did you know that yoga is supposed to be a form of meditation?
I kind of suspected it.
Mm-hmm. So it's
But I
a
wasn't
meditation. Yeah, it's a meditation in motion. So are a lot of martial arts forms. They are certain types of active meditations. And, well, one of the things that I was told by, who was it? I think it was Lieutenant Colonel Sanchez. He told me, he was my senior aerospace science instructor when I was in ROTC. Colonel Sanchez was telling us something, and I looked this up later, and it turns out he was actually pulling this from real sources, that meditation can be anything. Meditation can be brushing your teeth in the morning. You can meditate for 10 minutes just folding laundry. Meditation is when you take time to slow down and let your brain be and focus your energies on something other than the issues of the day. So one way to meditate would be to sit down, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and every time you have a thought that's too stressful or too anxious, you just repeat the word peace to yourself. Or you repeat the word calm to yourself. That's one way to meditate, and that's a way to meditate that a lot of people think of. But I really enjoy meditating when I do my martial arts forms. I really enjoy meditating when I cook brisket because I need to make sure that the temperature of the embers and the fire are correct in the smoker. I need to make sure that the brisket is in the right area and is getting enough smoke, enough heat, but not too much. I need to make sure that it remains moisturized, which means sometimes I'll have to have beer on hand, because when you make brisket and you want to make sure that it is moist, if it starts to look a little too dry after the first 7 or so hours, then you might need to add some liquid. I usually add beer because that gives the I don't know, it keeps the flavor better, and it adds a little bit of something.
Its own unique flavor.
It does, but it's very subtle because you're not like poaching it in it. You're just.
Have you ever had beer bread?
Yes, I have. It's really good.
Fantastic thing I've ever eaten.
But yeah, so it's like any kind of slow cooking, but for me, brisket especially, because brisket is a process that takes a minimum of 10 hours, usually longer. So I really enjoy using at least part, if not all of that, as a meditation.
Hold on a second. Bagels is asking a question. He's asking what beer bread is.
That is a very important question. Would you like to tell him what beer bread is?
Beer batter bread is when you use a can of beer in the mixture, because it contains yeast as well as... Would you say hops? Is that they usually use in that?
It depends on the beer. But it does have grains. It can be anything from hops to wheat or barley. It always depends on the beer that you drink.
Right, and I believe you actually replace the yeast in the recipe with beer instead. And it gives it like this sweet flavor when it's risen. It is the most wonderful thing you will ever eat.
I remember
one of them.
Yeah, I used to date a pastry chef, and for my birthday one year, she actually made what was it? It was an imperial, not imperial, but it was a stout. That's what it was, a whiskey stout. So she made a whiskey stout cake for my birthday. So she used a whiskey stout, which basically it's a type of malted ale that was aged in a whiskey barrel. So it had this nice, rich, creamy flavor. And she used my favorite stout. She used my favorite beer to make it. And I don't know how, because most beer bread, like it adds a little bit of sweetness. You can kind of taste the beer, but that's it.
Right.
But the way she did this, I straight up, I tasted the it was as if I was eating chocolate and drinking the beer at the same time. It was so weird.
Did she use liqueur?
No.
That's interesting. Also, bagels, when you add beer to something beforehand, it bakes out or cooks out.
Yes. So even
when you're cooking it.
Yeah, even if it tastes like there's still a kick of alcohol in there, anytime you're eating like a tart or a cake or anything that's cooked, literally the first thing to be cooked off is the alcohol. So just by its nature of being cooked to any amount, it's going to get rid of the majority, if not all, of that alcohol content. There is no way that you can get drunk off of like beer bread or beer cake or even tarts where you're using hard liquors.
However, rum cake is a different story because a lot of people will soak it after it's been cooked.
But that's because it's just like you said, it's soaked after the fact.
Yeah. But typically when you're baking it, it's going to bake out.
I feel like we went on a weird food tangent there.
Cooking with Josh and Boba.
Or cooking Josh and Boba. Man, this pot's getting
cooking.
kind of warm.
Now that you mention it. Oh my god, are we frogs?
We should probably get out.
Yeah. Time to get out of the pool.
And to anyone who got that reference, get a life.
You've been listening to us too long. Yeah, so food. I like to use it as a comfort source, and I feel like that might be because of texture.
Mm.
But you never know. It could be just because I like to feel something in my stomach. However, this is not always the best solution, guys. Don't be like me. Don't be a foodie.
Also, don't be the opposite, because I've had the opposite problem before, where when I'm depressed or anxious, I forget to eat for a number of days.
I've had that too. It's really weird because like I will binge on comfort food at
Mm-hmm.
first stage depression, but then when it gets to like a certain point, like where I'm really crashing, I don't eat at all. But
I
yeah, neither of those are healthy for you.
I have a question.
Hmm.
What's a comfort food for you?
Cake, ice cream, boba tea, or just sweet tea. I have like this gnarly sweet tooth
Mm.
when I am in stage 1 depression.
Do you have any memories that crop up when you eat cake?
Yes, quite a few good ones. And I think that's why. Like I am aware of why I have a sweet tooth. I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, the reason I was asking was because I wanted to see if I was right, because a lot of the times, comfort food is food that you have good memories with. And the reason why comfort food is actually a rather common way to deal with stress, and why it can be very, very easy to fall into overeating when you stress eat, is the fact that the number one absolute best way to trigger memories
It's through eating
is through
and or smell.
it's through the olfactory system, which is the sense of smell, which is a part of the sense of taste.
Right.
So when something is processed through your olfactory system through scent and taste, it is the most powerful trigger of memories that we know of, which is why if you want to remember something, having, for example, one of the tricks that I used to use in college before I took a test was I would go over everything I possibly could without worrying about, because like, usually I already knew all the things I needed, but I would go over everything just once really quickly a couple nights before, and I would smoke incense in my room. I would burn incense. I don't know why I said smoke. I would burn incense in my room.
Are you getting high off the incense again, Josh?
Man, let me tell you. But no, I would burn incense, and what would happen is if I left the shirt I was going to wear on the test day by the incense, it would infuse the smell of the incense into that shirt. So when I go for the test, I would sit there, I'm like, what is this answer? And I would lean over, and as I lean over, my shirt would get closer to my nose, and I would smell that incense. And the answer would come to me.
Wash the shirt?
I just need to put it next to the incense again next time I needed to use it for that little trick.
I take it you don't wash your clothes all the time then after your first wear then.
No, I'm putting the shirt next to the incense, and then I'm waiting until I need to wear it. So it's not a shirt I'm wearing then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I'll take a shirt that's all folded up, put it next to the incense burner, and then...
That's the impression I got.
Oh.
You foul being.
Oh god, no. Although I do need to, I just realized, fortunately I work from home, but I just realized I wore my last clean shirt today. I need to do my laundry.
Oh my gosh, are you gonna pull a Johnny Cash and wear your cleanest dirty shirt?
Oh god. I mean, if it's good enough for Johnny Cash, right?
I think you might need to re-listen to that song.
No. I'm pretty sure I have all of the context that I need for this.
Okay, if you say so. But then again, who am I to judge? We're the Wonder Twins.
We are. It's really, really disturbing still to this day.
What color are you thinking of?
Oddly enough, I was thinking of a different color before you asked that. But now I'm thinking of the color purple.
Great book.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Or we went into a random tangent, guys. We kind of needed a little bit of some comic relief. This is quite a heavy topic.
It is. And to be fair, I think the little tangents that we got into were very similar to tangents that you could get into or activities that you could get into while trying to help people or while trying to deal with your own mental issues. So if there's anything that you take from this, even if you can't bring yourself to directly say things to someone yet, I do want you to work towards that. I do want you to be able to talk to people about it. But at the very least, find... What was that?
Go ahead.
Oh,
I was going to say have fun while doing it.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Find some way to address it. Find some way to work on it. And if you see someone who needs help and you're not comfortable with saying, hey, you need help, do something enjoyable with them. Be a friend. In some capacity. Let them know in any small way, I'm here for you. Just shout, you are thinking of the color blank. Don't matter what they were thinking, as now they're thinking that color regardless. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have done that before.
You're thinking of the color red, aren't you, Josh?
No.
Liar.
I'm thinking of the color maroon.
That's because you are maroon.
I've been marooned here with you, Boba. I'm kidding.
Come on.
It's like being
You
stuck on
love
an
it.
island with myself.
Yep. All I have to say is you're hearing the voices inside your head. And it's probably accurate because it's me.
I'm still not convinced you're not just a voice inside my head that somehow other people can now hear. Like, honestly, this meeting Bobabun, God, how long ago was it? A few months ago at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, but meeting Bobabun for the first time a few months ago on Discord, and from day one, we were like, God, it's like we're the same person. And then, little did we know, the more we learned about each other, the more true that became, and it's really weird. I don't know.
And a little scary.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gender bend you, or you're gender bend me, or we're just the Wonder Twins separated at birth, but it's just weird. I'm concerned.
I would be concerned too, Josh. I would be concerned too.
Anyway, so I think that'll be it for this podcast. You can catch me and Bobabun, although she unfortunately will not be here this week for World War Weeb, but normally you can catch us on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central Time for World War Weeb, which is our comedy podcast, which is a lot lighter than this podcast has been.
Yeah, and before I leave, I'll leave you guys with a joke. Dentists decided they were going to pull a political move and drill my teeth for oil.
Well, you know what? If you find any, just make sure that you file the rights for the land.
Well, I'm sure that the rights for my land are already here, because, I mean, I've a large, how did they put it in Monty Python? She's got large tracts of land.
Good old Monty Python.
Yep.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us. I will catch probably everyone who's here at some point on Thursday, If you want to join our Discord community, you can look at the description below. And thank you so much for joining us.